Okay, so we're going to move on to the second pathway since we just completed the first pathway. So we are in Android Basics in Kotlin, Unit 1, Pathway 2. Alright, so let's go into Pathway 2. And the introduction video and downloading it and installing it, those are pretty self-explanatory. So we're on Pathway 2, Lesson 3. It's create and run your first Android app. So we'll take the code lab, prereqs, familiarity with using applications such as a word processor or spreadsheet, what you'll learn, how to create an Android Studio project, using an Android app as a template, using an Android app templates. We'll build a basic app from a template, and we'll need a computer with Android Studio installed on it. Again, they had instructions in the last section. I'm not making a video of it because the instructions are actually, pretty straightforward. So let's continue. Alright, so we're gonna go create a new project. Alright, we're gonna create an empty activity project. Alright, using these steps. Starting Android Studio, clicking new project. Right click the new project button when we get to Android Studio. And the type of project window will open, and there'll be a list of templates provided by Android Studio. I guess we're going to be clicking empty activity. Alright, we're going to want to make sure that we select phone. We're going to click, alright, the empty activity project dialog will open for the new project. We're going to name it Happy Birthday. We're going to make sure the language is Kotlin. We're going to select API 19. And it just shows that it'll run on 99% of the devices. Alright, and then we're going to make sure that this one, use legacy android.support libraries, is unchecked, and then we'll click finish. Alright, so let me open up Android Studio. We're going to do new project. We're going to select not basic activity, but empty activity, like they said. Alright, we're going to name it Happy Birthday. And I'm just going to name mine a little differently because I think I already created this once in the past. So Happy Birthday, I'm just going to call it YTV. So that's going to be like for the YouTube video that I'm making right now. Alright, we are in Kotlin. And package name, it'll usually just have it pre-populated like the example that it showed here before. But I had named some other apps using my name, which is a convention that some people claim that works. I'm new to this, so I'm sure my package name will be changing. It won't always be my name. Sometimes they said that there's a company name here and all different kinds of stuff for that. So we're going to be using Kotlin, not Java. And then they said to use Android 19. Alright. And we're not going to check the legacy support. So then we'll click finish. Alright, it's preparing. Alright, still loading. Alright. We're going to close the tips for now. I always like to see what it imported. Alright, so we've got main activity. Still loading. So let's just hang out until it loads everything. Processing. Alright. Okay, so this is what it'll look like when it loads. Let's go back to our instructions and see what it says for us to do next. Okay, when you first open Android Studio, you'll see three windows. The project window shows the files and the folders of your project. The editing window is for editing code, and the What's New window shows news and useful tips. So, folder, so that's the project window, editing window, and What's New. Okay. And the What's New is in the Assistant tab. The bottom right corner of Android Studio is a progress bar or messages indicating whether Android Studio is still working on setting up your project. Wait until Android Studio has completed setting up your project, and the message on the left corner, like the one show, Gradle sync finished in 44 seconds. And yep, Gradle sync finished in 37 seconds. Alright, so this is ready to go. I don't have the assistant like they had. So view, tools window. Oh. Whatever. I don't have the assistant bar. That's okay. Let's see. Alright, next. Run your app on a virtual device or an emulator. I have an emulator installed, and that was in a previous section. Alright. Oh, okay. They want you to create an emulator. Create an Android virtual device. From the Android Studio menu bar, select Tools, Device Manager. Okay. You can open the Device Manager by clicking on the icon. Alright. Device Manager shows create a device, select hardware. Okay. Select hardware window shown, a list of pre-configured devices organized by category that you can choose from. Each device provides a column for its display size, screen resolution in pixels, and pixel density. Select a phone as a category. Select a phone, for example Pixel 5, and then click Next. You can choose any phone, but for this Collab, choose a newer device. The system image window appears. From here, you'll choose the version of the Android system to run on your virtual device. This lets you test your app on different versions of Android systems. You're going to want to click on the recommended. So from the recommended tab, choose S as a version of Android to run on the virtual device. This was the latest version of Android at the time of writing, but you can choose any later stable version. Click here for a list of stable versions. Okay. Click Next. Alright. In the AVD name, just leave it unchanged and hit Finish. And then we have our virtual device. Run your app on the virtual device if it is not already. Bring the Android Studio to the foreground. In Android Studio, in the toolbar, you'll find a virtual device dropdown. It will look similar to the example. In Android Studio, select Run, Run App. Okay. The virtual device starts and boots just like a physical device. When the app is ready, it opens the virtual device and you should see something like this. Very cool. Great job, your virtual device is up and running. Notice that the title now Happy Birthday, and that Hello World is showing on the screen. When you configured the project, Android Studio created a folder on your computer for all your Android Studio projects called Android Studio Projects. Inside the Android Studio Projects folder, Android Studio also created a folder with the same name as your app, Happy Birthday, in this case. The Happy Birthday folder is your project folder. Android Studio saves both the files you create and the files that you that are created by Android Studio. In the Android Studio, look at the project window on the left. The project window shows the files and folders of your project. In the files of your project, the windows are organized to make the navigation between the files easier when you write code. However, if you look at the files in the file browser, such as Findo or Windows Explorer, the file hierarchy is organized very differently. In this task, you will explore these two different views of the project folder hierarchy. In the Android Studio project, in the project window, select from another drop-down menu on the left corner. You should see a file listing similar to the following. Main activity is what we want. In this view, an organization of your files, it is useful when writing code for your project. You can also view your files as they would appear in the file browser. In the project window, select project source files. So you can select Android or you can select project source files. You can now browse files in the same way as any file explorer. Switch back and forth to the previous view in the projects window and select Android again. Great, now you can create and run an app for your template. So I haven't run this yet. I did previously install the virtual device just like they said. But if you wanted to create a different device, you could go to create device just like they said. Select a newer device. So we'll select a Pixel 5. Okay, then we'll hit next. And then this is the recommended releases. And they said S was a good stable version. So we'll download that. Okay, it's downloading S. So we'll just wait for it to download. It's going pretty fast. It's already at 16%. Yes, I'm wondering how long it'll take me to become job ready. I've been going through these tutorials along with some other training aids like Udemy classes that I purchased, and I'm starting to understand Kotlin and Java programming in Android Studio and starting to understand the basics. But it's definitely a learning curve. It's very interesting though. It's very, very interesting. I don't know where everybody else is in their learning, but you know, feel free to drop some comments in the video below. Tell me where you're at. I think it's going to be a great career once I get there, but it looks, I'm thinking like a year it's going to take me. On the website, they said that it would take like 6 months, something around there. But I think to really understand and really, you know, get prepared, I think it's going to take a little longer, in my opinion. Alright, so we're just waiting for it to unzip. Okay, so it unzips, so we've got our version, so finish. Alright, so we're going to go to API Vault. Oh. So we're going to do 31. We're going to click next. Okay, Pixel 5 API 31. Startup orientation portrait. Okay, finish. And then we're gonna start start our Alright, so we just created this device. So I have two devices, two virtual devices. I'll probably delete the Pixel 3a because I just did the Pixel 5 and that's a newer device. Alright, so we can minimize our device manager. Alright, so we'll run the activity like they said. Still starting the phone emulator first. Anyway, I started this because there's actually a lot of things that I've done in my life, but technology has always been very interesting to me. And then I started thinking about things that could be created that aren't available yet. And I can't share my ideas because I don't want anybody to steal them, but it probably failed because the phone isn't started yet. Because I want to make them before other people do, but I think there's a lot you can do with Android programming and Android app development. Kotlin seems very useful as well, and Java does too. Alright, so the phone is running. Let's try to run our app again. See if it runs this time. Installing, launching. Okay, yeah, and it succeeded, no problem this time. Hello world. Alright, so that's where we are at. So let's go back to our tutorial. Oh, and it talked about the view pane of Android Studio, so let's look at that. So basically it says, you know, if you click Android, you can view all the files in your project that you started, which is the Happy Birthday app, you know. So you're right in the app folder. But if you want to view it like you would view it in a library on your computer, you could see that this is the folder it created on your computer, and then here's all the other ones. A lot of times when I'm doing it, what I've been using is just like a project overview, so you can see the actual full folders for the project, and then you can go to your app, and then the main, and then where we're at, which is main activity. So, but what I found that I didn't know recently, which isn't in this tutorial, but it's pretty interesting. Like, say you have all this collapsed, right? And none of this is open. You can just go to your main activity, whatever you're in, and if you want to locate it in the project window, you can just hit this target, and it'll open up to the location of where this file is in your project. So that's been very helpful to me. Alright, so switch back to the previous view, select Android again. Alright, so let's do that. Next. Alright, in summary, to create a new project in Android Studio, click the plus, start a new project, name your project, choose a template, and fill in the details. To create an Android virtual device on an emulator, to run your app on, choose Tools, Device Manager, and then use the Device Manager to select a hardware and device system image. To run your app on the virtual device, make sure you have created the device, select the device from the toolbar drop-down menu, and then run your app by clicking the Run on the toolbar. To find your project files in the project window, select Project Source Files from drop-down. Alright, if you'd like to learn more about this section, there's all these resources here. Alright, and we are done. We are done the create and run your first Android app. In the next video, we'll run your app on a mobile device. I'm probably actually going to skip this one, and we'll just go to learn the basics of Android tests because the mobile device is basically the same setup as this, only you'll put your device in developer mode, and then you'll just connect it to your computer. So it's pretty straightforward to run it on a mobile device. It's very similar to running it on a virtual device. So what I'll do is my next video will be learn basics of Android testing. Alright, see you in the next video. This is again Android Basics in Kotlin, Kotlin Basics. Alright, so pathway 2, lesson 3. And we're going to be doing lesson 5 in the next video. Alright, see you soon. Bye.